Hello, my name is Sabrina Moreland, and I'm the librarian that is embedded in your Tennessee eCampus Microbiology course. And I've created a brief video that will show you some basics to research that will help you find and access those scientific articles that you're required to use for many of your assignments. So again, here's my name. And I am listed as Sabrina.Moreland in your class list. So that's one method of contacting me if you have any questions. And my main role in the class is to answer research-based assignments and to help you with those. So that could be finding and evaluating sources. That might be deciding which database is most appropriate. And it could also be helping with citations. So I know that you all have to document anything that you quote or paraphrase from those articles. So I am employed at Walters State Community College, which means that I have access to just those articles and databases. And so you as students are required to access information from the library of your home institution. So I've pulled up just a few examples here. I'm not going to go through all of them, but at Roane State, for instance, I've gone to their library and I'm looking at their databases. And you can see they have quite an extensive list, and you'll also notice that many of the libraries are set up in the same way as they typically use this the same sort of platform. So if I go to subjects, is which I recommend doing for all of the libraries, and narrowing it down to a subject. So it may not say, microbiology, but math and science relates to that. And so general full text, which many colleges have access to, would be a good option. If we go to Nashville State Community College, we will find out where they have their articles and databases. And again, same sort of interface, this LibGuide platform. And again, I want to look for some related topics. So maybe nothing, they have math and science again, but maybe biology would be more applicable. And so there's general science full text, environmental studies and policy. It really depends on the subtopic, I suppose, of microbiology that you're studying. And so I'm going to go ahead and show you Walters State, since again, that's what I have access to. So I will go to our databases, and we have our science databases located under the natural science link. And so we also have general science full text and so forth. Now, if you don't have the databases I've just mentioned, these ideas and tips apply to using databases across the board. And so one of the things to think about is you're going to want to generate lots of search terms, and you're going to want to narrow or broaden your topic. And so the first thing is to consult some sort of basic reference source, which means you might look at your textbook, you could go to an encyclopedia, you could look at Wikipedia and not ever use Wikipedia as a source, but you want to do something to sort of expand your knowledge on what terms, what paths are associated with your topic. And so we want to get a nice list of related terms by also accessing the databases themselves and learning what the database calls those different terms. And so those are actually subject headings. And the database very nicely gives us what these are. And these are ways of thinking about your topic in a different light. These are tagged terms that may not be the natural language that we use. And I will show you this in just a few minutes. But getting as many terms as possible is always a good idea, and really thinking about the path you want to take. We tie all these terms together with what is called Boolean operators, and those are just three words: and, or, and not. And so we're using just those tiny little words to string together our search query. And again, you always have the option of using a general database, but using subject-specific databases is really helpful, and also taking note of any of the extra features or database tools provided in the databases, like citation generators, ways of emailing documents to yourself, and printing. So just as an example, if I'm looking up information for bioremediation, I might go to Wikipedia. and generate a bunch of terms. And I might learn that I could focus strictly on soil or air or water. I could narrow it down a little bit so it's not so overwhelming when I go into the databases looking for articles. And then I start thinking of these related terms. And these could be terms I find on the internet at large, through reputable websites, but they're just terms. Again, they're not sources for my paper. And I also get them from looking at the subjects and the thesaurus and the headings that are provided in the databases. And so after doing all of this preliminary work, I'm able to create bioremediation and soil or water and treatment. So I have my Boolean operators in there, and that is how I will enter this question and research query into the database. So I want to show you very quickly how to do that. So this is General Science Full Text. It is a very popular database to subscribe to, so there's a good chance your institution has it. So if I put my term in that first box, I get lots of results. Not as many as you would think sometimes. Sometimes you can get up to thousands and thousands, but I might go ahead and put in soil or water just to narrow that down. And I get 60, so already pretty manageable. Now, a couple things to think about. Look for in your database a way to select peer-reviewed or scholarly journals. Sometimes they say academic journals, but you want to check that box. And you also want to be mindful of the date, so the currency of the information you're looking for. So this only goes to 2020 for this specific term. So if I just narrow that to 2010 just as an example, then I only have to work with information published within the last 10 years. And so we just keep narrowing. We can keep adding in these boxes using those Boolean operators. Now I only got 3 results, so I'm probably going to want to change my terms up a little bit. One of these might be really good. That's why we're going to look at other databases. But once you find an article that has potential, you can click into it and you can download, print, email it to yourself, and always look for some kind of link or icon that signifies citation. So this little yellow piece of paper, when I click on that, brings up different citation styles. And so if I'm using APA, I can copy and paste that into my reference page and edit it and make sure it's written properly, but be good to go as far as that requirement goes. Go back to our little list here of articles, and I also want to show you that beneath each abstract there are subjects listed. So these are the really great terms tagged in this database, and they're different for each article that you view. And they also, if we go back another layer here, they'll have subjects listed. So if you want to start here, you can see what other types of terminology they have there for you to generate those related terms. Similarly, in another database, this is a environmental studies and policy database owned by Gale, so a different company, also part of the Tennessee Electronic Library, which means if you're a resident of Tennessee or you're associated with one of these institutions, you have access to this database. But it's just a little bit of a different look. So go ahead and put in our term. We have lots more options in this database. Again, it depends on your subject, but you want to make sure you're staying with academic journals. And on the right, you have the option of clicking on peer-reviewed journals, because again, we want those expert-written scientific articles. We can navigate and narrow the publication date if we want to, but I recommend using search within in this type of database. So we could try, once again, soil or water, and you'll see this number continue to decrease. And we can add treatment. You could use this as many times as you want if you have lots of articles to narrow down. And again, in this database, once you find an article that could have, potential, you don't have to totally commit to it, but you might want to save it or something. You can go in and you see that your search terms are in red, and once again there are some tools and features at the top, like emailing it to yourself, printing, and in this case the citation generator looks like a little quote with the word cite. And if I was using APA perhaps, or MLA, I could choose one of these and copy and paste this. Even Chicago, if you decide that's the route you want to take. Sometimes instructors do assign specific styles, but that's very quick using the databases, but very similar, applications in each, looking for peer-reviewed way of marking that, thinking about your currency, using those subjects to find what you need. This database also has related subjects listed for you, similar articles. So lots of good ways of narrowing and getting a nice list of related terms. Now, if you do create your own citation, or if you use the database generator that's there for these citations, then you want to check those. They're not always perfect. So there's always manuals to look at. We always recommend the Purdue OWL site. You can ask a librarian. And just to show you very quickly, the Purdue OWL site's free to use. This is their main page. And if I go to Research and Citations, then I can select the style I'm using. Perhaps I'm using APA. And I want to go to Formatting and Style Guide, and this gives you everything you need to know. We can look at how to set up the reference list. If you're using a database, then you go to Electronic Sources and you find that section and you can check it against those examples. Citations, the basics, how to do different types of authors. So it's all here for you to sort of check and consult. So you'll be using those in-text citations, and they're all different. So depending on the type you're using, you'll want to figure out what that is, prescribed for that certain style. And so they're all going to have, though, in-text and parenthetical citations. So whatever you quote or paraphrase from those scientific articles, you must document that. So in-text means you're putting the author or the page or the year, whatever it is, in the text, so in the actual sentence. If you're using a parenthetical citation, that means that whatever that information is listed inside of a parentheses. And all those styles on the Purdue OWL site show you how to do that and what that should look like. And then at the end of your assignment, or maybe your instructor just tells you to add it at the very last part, you'll have to have some sort of full citation. So that's the reference page, works cited page, bibliography. And this is just a list of the works you've cited in your paper. It might just be one, but if it's more than one, it needs to be in alphabetical order. And of course, there's a certain way of putting all of that together. And be sure to pay attention to grammar and punctuation. They're all different. Double check, like I said, those databases. Sometimes they have things that aren't capitalized properly or italicized properly. So you just want to make sure all of that is laid out the way it should be before submitting your work. So thank you all for listening. This was very brief to sort of get you started and guide you on how to find those articles. Please don't hesitate to contact me through Tennessee eCampus. I've also listed my Walter State email and my office number. And I also like to say, I feel comfortable saying that if you are in your library for your home institution and you have access to a librarian, chances are he or she will be very happy to help you and assist you. So thanks again, and I hope you have a great semester.